Today we are going to be talking. Well, I just found out that she could be my sister from Cameroon. I'm just kidding. But today we are going to be talking to Isha Gaye. Isha is the founder of Afrique Noire. Thank you for joining us on Self-Reflection Podcast.
Thank you for having me, Lira. I'm so excited to be here.
Yes. Before we get into our conversation, can you please let our family here on Self-Reflection Podcast know who you are, a little bit of your background?
Absolutely. So my name is Isha Gaye. I am originally from the Gambia, but I've lived in the U.S. for such a long time now. I'm not even sure if I can rightfully say that I'm Gambian. But yeah, I'm Gambian American, and I am the founder and CEO of Afrique Noire.
Love that. Yeah. What ignite your fire into art?
That's such an interesting question. And I think because I have this platform and I have this magazine, people automatically think that I'm like a creative. Mm-hmm. And funnily enough, I'm not. So I always say this, I can barely draw a sun. Like, honestly, like I'm the worst artist. I didn't really grow up being exposed to art. I grew up to a very strict immigrant father who was like, you need to read your books and that's all you need to do. So all I did growing up was I read, but I always had a very active imagination, I think. Mm-hmm. It's probably because I was always reading. But I don't really consider myself an artist, but I am a lover of art. Mm. And I think for a long time, that's something that resonated with me, was how people could tell such powerful stories through art. And with starting this platform, it was just a way to kind of lean into that a little bit more and also explore the different creatives and artists specifically on the African continent.
I would have never guessed you were not an artist, because when I went on your page, I was like, wow, beautiful art. She must really be part of
that community. I'm trying to be a part of that community.
I think I would still consider you an artist because you created a platform that is for artists, but also it's the creation within you, that makes it an art.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
And I do get that a lot. I think it's a bit of imposter syndrome on my end.
Oh, we're going to talk about that.
I know, right? I came to the right place.
Yes, we're going to talk about that.
Yeah, I mean, I totally, I agree with that. I think sometimes it's just hard as people to put yourself in that space of saying I am this. I feel like because I've grown up always having that thought, I'm not an artist, but I like art. It's kind of hard to pivot into that mindset, but I'm working on it.
Yeah. Oh my God. Okay. What made you want to create this platform in the first place?
Yeah. I feel like it's such a loaded answer because it wasn't just one day that I woke up and I was like, I'm going to create this magazine, this platform. I think it was a series of things. One, the direction that my life was headed, and things personally that were happening in my life that I was kind of trying to find my way. And I felt like I wasn't where I was meant to be, and I felt that deeply. I was on my way to law school, which was an interesting journey in of itself, because I feel like that was something that for the longest time I said I was going to be a lawyer because I felt like that was what was expected of me. It was either that or a doctor or engineer. I mean, you know. The
I'm like,
four.
Yes.
And I prided myself with that. I studied economics and political science in college, and I was, I led a mock trial team. That was my entire personality.
Yeah.
So when I graduated in 2020, I was a COVID grad. And the world shut down. I moved back home with my aunt and uncle. And there was a lot of time for self-reflection. And it took me a while, but, really sitting with myself and asking myself the hard questions of why was I pursuing this when it wasn't bringing me any joy? Yeah. What was my purpose for pursuing this? And I have an aunt that's very introspective, and she is very spiritually advanced, I will say. She's someone that's very in tune with who she is. And she, I had those conversations with her and she was like, yeah, I didn't even know why you wanted to be a lawyer anyway. And just hearing that, I think it validated something within me that knew that I didn't want to really pursue law. And hearing somebody say, like, you don't have to be a lawyer, you know, you can do anything else. I think that was the beginning of the end of going to law school. But then that obviously opened up another can of worms of like, if that's not who I am, then who am I? And it took some time, but I think reflecting on the things that I loved, I love Africa, I love African creatives, I love African art, and I knew that there was a gap in the market, especially in the United States, where that wasn't really being celebrated. I mean, now I think it's becoming a bit more mainstream, but I mean, 10 years ago, you wouldn't pick up a magazine or go online and see, African creatives being celebrated. And even now, it's still like, the very top, performers or artists that are really celebrated. And I just think that everyday creatives who are making art out of their lived experiences, out of their pain, should also be celebrated. So,
my goodness, that is so beautiful.
Yeah.